Last year, there were 27 billion-dollar incidents in this country. And these are named incidents, or these are named hurricanes. And obviously, as lives lost, property damage, damage to infrastructure. But my view is that there's still a lack of appreciation of investment of how can we protect people from these damages. So during my time at the EPA, I changed the title of my office from emergency response to emergency management. If we wait for the hurricane, it is too late. So we have this moment to work together to protect against those incidents. So heavier downpours. So the intensity of heavier downpours, I mean, you see broken up across. So this is like the 1% of days and how the heaviest downpours are increasing. So the problems that we have are not the named hurricane. While the named hurricanes are problematic, it's these regular, intense rain that has regular flooding, and we currently are not investing in protecting people from flooding events. Global temperature. Last year, this week, I'm sure you all have experienced a little bit of heat. Last year was the hottest year on record, which topped the prior year, which is the hottest year on record. Since 2010, we've had the hottest period of time in human history, right? The Gulf of Mexico last year had a temperature of 78 degrees. So these temperatures obviously have some major consequences. So cardiovascular illness, premature deaths, aggression. Last year, FEMA recorded the most number of deaths from weather, and it was from heat. The scary part of that is emergency rooms and coroners don't generally list heat as the cause of death. They list cardiovascular, heart attacks, So even that number is an under-recognized number. So heat is particularly acute for older residents, for lower income residents who may not have cooling, who also are suffering from the twin burden of what's called a high energy burden, a high cost of their salary going to energy. And those who suffer with pre-existing illnesses like asthma. Right? So heat has this compounding effect. And heat is also coincident with increased air pollution at the same time. So you have what's called ground level ozone that occurs at that moment. And we also have increase in particulates that occurs in some part because during these hottest periods, we have to rely on what's called peaking facilities, peaking energy facilities, which are the worst of the worst. They have the least pollution control, and they use bunker fuel. So it's a confounding effect that happen on the hottest days of the year. So we have wildfires. So wildfires are becoming a thing that is regular occurring. So I did an event in Philadelphia, a couple of thousand people, and I asked hands to go up, how many people were aware of red flag notices? There were two red flag notices in Philadelphia, not a single hand went up, right? So why do so many people die in California and Maui? You could talk about a lot of factors, but the extent of death was ineffective warning systems. Ineffective warning systems getting to people, right? And that combined with this mix of drought weather cycles, where you have, in California, you had this short wet weather cycle, grew vegetation, incredible drought, which created this fuel. And then you had land use policies of kind of building where they should not have been. So wildfires are unfortunately here to stay. And those that live here have been exposed to the Canadian fires, right? And most of, like, northern part of the United States have had health impacts by a distant fire, right? So we have this impact from wildfire that is multi-dimensional, and the causes are multi-dimensional. And then you have, what I call the consequence of extreme weather. So I was also responsible for chemical plant safety during the Obama administration. I had all the fun jobs, during the Obama administration. So 1/3 of regulated facilities are in the path of projected hurricane floods and wildfires. 3,000 reported chemical releases due to power loss, but these 3,000 facilities have yet to put in backup power. So insurance. So we're seeing a breakdown of insurance. I promise there'll be some good news at the end. So Hurricane Ida shows 40% of homes were uninsured. Homeowners living in areas with multiple events are showing 82% higher than those in low-risk areas. So Munich reinsurance, so insurance, you have the direct insurance, and then you have reinsurance that covers the back-end risk. So globally last year, Munich reinsurance only covered $108 billion of $320 billion of the claims from weather events. So one of the most striking reports that I've read in the last year was a report by the U.S. Department of Treasury that was issued the first week of January. So somehow we got lost, and some events happened afterwards, but the significance of that report was lost. So we talked about the insurance rates going up. We also have insurance companies pulling out of markets. So both kind of the event-based insurance, like flood insurance, but also basic property insurance. So in Florida and California, we're seeing insurance being pulled out of markets or reducing their coverage. We also are seeing these cascading effects. So in these areas where you have these weather events, we're seeing the land values going below the mortgage price. And so the U.S. Department of Treasury, based on data from insurance companies and data from state insurance agencies, are calling out the real risk of wholesale financial sector failure because of this mortgage-backed security problem. So you have these bad mortgages that are packed into these mortgage-backed securities, and when the underlying asset fails, it causes cascading effects of these financial instruments. So 2008, the failure in 2008 was because of these mortgage-backed securities. So what the Department of Treasury predicts or forecasts is if we don't do something about it, we're going to see wholesale market failure. So we need to work now to address these risks. And by the way, this unit of the Department of Treasury no longer exists. It no longer is collecting data from insurance companies. And FEMA is no longer reporting billion-dollar incidents.